Elvis Presley was at the zenith of his fame in 1971, headlining sold-out arenas, commanding millions with a single note. So when an anonymous offer arrived, $3 million for a private meeting with a woman he had never met, no publicity, no performance, he almost laughed it off. $3 million for nothing but his presence? His inner circle balked. Such sums were reserved for global tours, not secret rendezvous. Yet Elvis felt a pull he couldn't name, a quiet urgency beneath the glitz. Without telling a soul, he agreed. Absolute secrecy, total discretion until the appointed moment. As the check cleared and his Cadillac rumbled toward a place unmarked on any map, one question burned in his mind. Who was this woman? And why did her request shake the king of rock and roll to his core? Elvis's black Cadillac coasted off the two-lane highway onto the dusty drive, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across a landscape that felt worlds away from the neon glare of Vegas. Heat waves shimmered above the cracked asphalt of the small Mississippi town, unmarked on most maps. No press entourage, no flashing cameras, only the lawyer's sober sedan parked at the roadside diner when Elvis stepped out. He watched the lawyer in a crisp gray suit approach, briefcase in hand. The man's expression was unreadable beneath aviator glasses. "Mr. Presley," he said, handing over an embossed envelope and a thick, bank-endorsed check. Elvis's brow furrowed as he glanced at the payee line. $3 million, drawn on an account in a name he didn't recognize. "No strings?" Elvis asked, voice low with suspicion. "None," the lawyer replied, sliding into the driver's seat of his Jaguar. "Confidentiality required. Follow the directions in this envelope. No questions until you arrive." With that, the lawyer drove off, leaving Elvis alone on the sun-baked street. He slipped the check into his jacket pocket and opened the stamped envelope. Inside was a simple sheet of cream stationery, typed in elegant script. "Please come to 217 Cedar Street. Be seated on the veranda. No cameras, no press. No performance required. No signature, no explanation. Just an address and an invitation." Elvis paused, the weight of the check pressing against his chest. He felt a curious tug of intrigue stronger than any doubt. $3 million for a private meeting. Something in his gut told him this was more than a simple transaction. He climbed back into the Cadillac and followed the lawyer's written directions through winding country lanes. Pine trees gave way to open fields dotted with farmhouses and weathered barns. The town itself was little more than a cluster of clapboard buildings, a general store, and a crooked church steeple rising above dusty rooftops. At last, he turned onto a narrow lane lined with ancient oaks, their moss-draped branches swaying in a warm breeze. The driveway narrowed, ending at a modest white cottage with peeling paint and a wraparound veranda. A wooden swing rocked gently in the wind, its cords creaking in a steady rhythm. Elvis's pulse quickened as he parked and stepped out, his polished boots sinking into the soft earth. He walked up the creaking steps and paused at the threshold. The door swung open before he could knock, revealing a small, stooped figure framed in the doorway. The woman was slight, her back curved by time, hair white as cotton, eyes sharp and bright, despite the 100 lines mapping her face. She wore a faded floral dress and held a wooden cane topped with a brass handle. "Mr. Presley," she said, voice raspy yet warm. "Please, come sit." He followed her onto the veranda, where 2 rocking chairs faced a low table holding an unlit oil lamp. Cicadas droned in the sultry air. Elvis removed his hat, tucking it under his arm. He sat, heart pounding, and studied the woman before him. She offered him a small smile, one that carried both welcome and quiet gravity. "I'm Gladys May Riley," she said, leaning heavily on her cane. Folks just call me May. She gestured to the chair beside her. You can put that check away. I don't need it. Elvis eased the check from his inside pocket and placed it on the table, untouched. I was told to come, he murmured, voice hushed. I don't know why. May took his hand, her skin cool and papery. You came because you have questions, she said. Her gaze held his. And I have answers. He swallowed, the breeze stirring the curls at his collar. Though the air held the scent of honeysuckle and damp earth, it felt charged with something he could not name, a promise of truths long buried. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. May's eyes drifted toward the silent swing and then back to him. Sit with me a while, Elvis, she said softly. No cameras, no scripts, just you and me and the quiet. He nodded, exhaling the tension that had coiled in his shoulders since first reading the stranger's note. As he settled back in the rocker, the wood creaked under his weight, and he closed his eyes briefly. In that moment, surrounded by the hush of rural stillness and the watchful gaze of a woman unknown to him, Elvis felt the first stirring of something he had not felt in years. Genuine peace, laced with the unfolding mystery of why fate had brought him here. No stage, no audience, only a veranda, a stranger's invitation, and the scent of magnolia drifting on the wind. And in the space between heartbeats, Elvis Presley realized that whatever came next would change him forever. The crickets droned softly as twilight settled beyond the white picket fence. Elvis sat with May Riley on the creaking veranda swing, its chains groaning like a distant memory. She offered him a glass of lemonade, pale as moonlight, and he accepted, grateful for the tart sweetness cooling his throat. May's hands were knotted, her fingernails trimmed short and stained by years of work. Yet she held the glass with gentle authority. Thank you, he said, lifting the rim to his lips. The citrus hit his tongue like unexpected clarity. May watched him over the rim of her own glass, eyes steady as the stars that began to glimmer overhead. You came here seeking a performance, she began, voice soft but unwavering. But tonight, the stage is in your heart. Elvis set the glass aside and folded his hands on his knee. I admit, I don't understand why I'm here, he confessed. $3 million. A private meeting. No fanfare. Why? May nodded, as if she had expected the question. When I was a nurse, I saw men and women broken by life's cruelties, but none more shattered than those who forgot their worth outside the applause. She paused. You've known that, haven't you? His throat tightened. The years of adulation, screaming crowds, and flashing lights echoed in his mind. Sometimes, he said, I wake up on empty. I wonder if I'm real. Her gaze flickered. Real isn't measured by standing ovations, son. It's the quiet moments between the songs. She let the swing sway, murmuring in time with the night breeze. Elvis leaned forward, elbows braced on his knees. My mother. She'd sing at the piano when I was a boy. She said that song was a prayer, not show business. Lately, I can't remember how faith felt. May closed her eyes, channeling a lifetime of compassion. When she spoke, it was with a voice as familiar as his mother's lullaby. Your mother had a gift. She believed that every note you sang carried her hope. She opened her eyes, emerald lanterns in the dark. That song of hers is woven into your soul, whether you sing it for millions or hum it to yourself in the empty rooms. He exhaled, recalling Gladys's gentle hum in their Tupelo home. Sometimes I feel lost between the spotlight and silence, he admitted, fingers tracing the wood grain of the armrest. Then find yourself in service to someone who needs your heart more than your voice, May suggested, her tone unwavering. I asked for your presence, not your performance. I needed to see the man behind the legend. Elvis looked at her, heart knotting and loosening in the same breath. You saw my eyes, he whispered. You saw a father searching for purpose. Her lips curved in a faint, knowing smile. And I heard your heart's plea, quiet, but insistent. I needed you to remember that your value transcends the stage. He felt something shift within, a gentle tremor of recognition. The promise of his childhood faith stirred, as if a door had been unlocked. He rose from the swing, stepping toward the edge of the veranda. What do I do now? He asked, voice raw with hope and vulnerability. May rose slowly, placing a frail hand on his forearm. You live the truth you've sung so often, that love and compassion matter more than adoration. Go home and let that faith guide you. Elvis nodded, tears glinting in the lamplight. He extended his hand, and May placed the lemonade glass into his palm. Carry this night with you, she said, and remember that sometimes the greatest gift is to show up and simply be, she finished, echoing his mother's sentiment. He held the glass as though it were a chalice, promising himself that he would honor her words, and in that moment, under the watchful constellations, Elvis Presley found a new refrain, one not written in lyrics or chords, but composed in the quiet harmony of human connection. The lantern on the porch flickered as Elvis sat beside May Riley's kitchen table, the hum of cicadas a distant lullaby through the cracked window. He had lingered behind after the porch swing conversation, drawn by a need he did not fully understand. May had disappeared into the small adjoining pantry and returned with a humble dinner. Steaming bowls of pinto beans, cornbread warm on a plate, and the gentle aroma of simmering greens that reminded Elvis of home. I made it in your mother's honor, May said, settling into her chair across from him. The lamplight cast soft shadows across their faces. Elvis bowed his head as she ladled beans onto a chipped plate. He tasted a spoonful, and the rich, smoky flavor brought a sudden, sharp pang of nostalgia. This is just like she used to cook, he murmured, voice thick with memory. She'd say a simple meal and a prayer could fix anything. May watched him with kind eyes, nodding slowly. Food can nourish the body, but faith and kindness nourish the soul. She ladled another helping onto his plate. Eat, son. He ate, each bite a communion with the mother he had lost too soon. May spoke little, allowing the comfort of shared silence. Finally she said, There's one more thing. Her voice was soft, but the weight behind it made Elvis pause. A letter, she explained, retrieving a folded sheet from her apron pocket and placing it before him. The envelope was aged, the paper slightly yellowed, edges frayed. Elvis's heart thundered as he recognized his own handwriting on the back, though he could not recall writing it. Read it when you're ready, May said, her gaze steady. I nearly couldn't speak it. My heart was too full. Elvis unfolded the letter with trembling fingers. The handwriting was familiar, though shaky. His mother's script, he realized, as tears pricked his eyes. He began to read, My dearest May, if this reaches you, though I pray it never must, know that I have done all I could to protect my children from the storms of this world. Tonight, a mother's heart compels me to write what I cannot say. You were there when my little boy came into this life, struggling for breath and warmth. The doctor hesitated, but you, May, you knelt by his side and wrapped him gently, whispering prayers as you worked. Your hands saved him. Please watch over him always. Tell him that when he feels lost beneath the glare of lights, there is someone who knew him first as a fragile child and loved him. All my love. Gladys Elvis's chest seized as he read the final words. He stared at May, his vision blurred. You were there? He asked, voice a whisper. May nodded, eyes glistening. Your mother was young and frightened. I was the head nurse that night. When he gasped that first breath, I thought of my own child, lost too soon. I did what I had to do. Elvis's knees buckled, and he sank to a chair, the letter still in his hand. May, he choked. I almost died. She crossed to him and placed her hand on his shoulder. He gave you life twice over, once at birth, and again tonight, when you remembered faith and compassion. He bowed his head, tears flowing freely now. The weight of $3 million, the mysterious summons, all paled beneath the revelation etched in Gladys's words. He pressed the letter to his heart. I didn't know. I never knew. May knelt beside him, voice unhurried. Your mother believed in miracles. She knew one in your face. Now, you carry her miracle forward. Elvis rose, embracing May with a tenderness that transcended gratitude. Thank you, he whispered, lips brushing her hair, for everything. The lawyer, punctual as ever, rapped at the back door. May exchanged a look with Elvis. Go, she said softly. He needs to see you home. Elvis folded the letter carefully and placed it beside the empty plate. He held May's hand, eyes locking with hers. I will return, he vowed. That night, under the same ancient oaks where he had first sat in wonder, Elvis Presley walked back to his Cadillac alone, the hush of the Mississippi country road echoing with newfound purpose. In his pocket rested a letter from the past, a promise of love unbroken by time, and in his heart he carried the knowledge that kindness, paid forward, can redeem a soul. As the engine roared to life and the headlights pierced the dark, Elvis drove away, leaving behind more than a tear-stained kitchen. He left with a mission: to honor a mother's faith, repay a nurse's compassion, and live a life worthy of the miracle that once saved him. Dawn's first light filtered through the pine boughs as Elvis slowed the Cadillac down the lane, heart heavy yet resolute. The air carried dew's faint chill, a quiet promise of renewal. He piloted the car to the same white cottage where he had found solace and startling truth. On the veranda, May Riley sat in her favorite rocking chair. Kane leaned against the railing, arms folded over her shawl. She looked fragile under the pale morning sky. Elvis hesitated at the bottom step, folding the letter from Gladys into his coat pocket. In his other hand, he held a slender Polaroid camera, his single request from May the previous night. One photograph of her and him, just for memory's sake, not for the press. Good morning, he said softly, voice low with emotion. May rose slowly, offering a tentative smile. Despite her frailty, there was a quiet strength in her posture. She patted the seat beside her. Morning, son. Elvis climbed the steps and settled next to her, careful not to crowd her. She adjusted her shawl and nodded toward the camera. If you're going to do it, now's the time, she said. He lifted the camera, framing them both against the simple homestead background. May closed her eyes briefly, as though summoning the courage for one last performance. Elvis clicked the shutter. The instant image developed, revealing a tableau both ordinary and profound. A weathered nurse, the man she'd helped save decades ago, connected by a silent lineage of love and compassion. He slipped the photograph into his shirt pocket and took May's hand, fingers entwining in a gentle grip. Neither spoke, for words could not capture the depth of the bond sealed by last night's confessions and this morning's farewell. "I have to go, May," Elvis said finally, throat tight. "But I'll be back, I promise." Her eyes glistened. "I know," she whispered, "and thank you for coming home." He leaned in, resting his forehead against hers in a quiet benediction. Then, tentatively, he released her hand and turned toward the road. 2 weeks later, Elvis returned, this time in solemn procession. He had arranged for May's funeral to be unpublicized, a private affair for family, close friends, and the small community she'd served all her life. The church was the same humble clapboard building he'd noted from the highway, an unadorned sanctuary of whitewashed walls and pews polished by worshippers' knees. Wildflowers gathered from roadside vases lined the aisle. Inside, the minister spoke softly of compassion's quiet power, of a life devoted to service without fanfare. Elvis stood at the front, heart pounding, as the wooden casket bearing May's gentle form rested upon easels draped in white cloth. He recalled her final words, "Now I can rest." That simple sentence had been both release and reassurance. After the service, in the church vestibule, May's granddaughter, thin, dark-haired, eyes solemn as a winter sky, approached Elvis. In her hands, she clutched a cream-colored envelope, sealed with wax. Elvis recognized May's handwriting and felt the old lump of anticipation tighten in his chest. He knelt to meet the girl's gaze. "This is for you," she said, voice trembling. "She wanted you to have it." Elvis accepted the envelope gently and stood. The granddaughter lingered a moment longer, grateful for his presence. Then she turned and slipped away, leaving Elvis alone with memories and a new responsibility. He retreated to the church's side room and carefully broke the seal. Inside was a letter, elegantly written in May's spidery script. "My dear son, by the time you read this, I will have gone where the world's applause cannot reach me. But I want you to know, sweet Elvis, that your life was the answer to my prayer. You gave me faith in miracles, and now I rest peacefully. Promise me this. Share your gift not only on stage, but in quiet places where hearts break in silence. Keep singing, but never forget that some songs are heard only by the soul. With all my gratitude, May Riley, your nurse, your friend, your mother-in-love." Elvis folded the letter to his chest, a single tear marking its final lines. He rose, stepping into the church's midday light, determination alight in his gaze. He had come seeking answers, found purpose, and now carried a charge, to let his own life echo May's legacy. That evening, in a handwritten note to May's granddaughter, postmarked Memphis, Tennessee, Elvis Presley wrote, "Dear Emily, your grandmother changed me in ways I can never repay. She reminded me that kindness can be as powerful as any song. I will honor her memory every day I wake and find my voice. With deepest respect and love, Elvis." He signed the letter with a flourish, carefully folded it, and placed it in the aged oak desk May had used for her own correspondence. Then he turned out the lamp, leaving behind her home and the chapel where simple faith had reshaped his destiny. As Elvis departed into the quiet night, the small town slept under a blanket of stars. Somewhere ahead lay stages, spotlights, and the endless roar of fame. Yet in his heart burned a quieter mission, one May had entrusted to him, to bring light into shadowed places, to sing not just for audiences, but for souls, one tender moment at a time.